ready, sir.
I'd like to call to order the June the 7th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting for Oconee County, South Carolina. First order of business is approval of minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I move to correct item number 10 in the agenda.
All right. Oh, hey, I wasn't worried about the agenda. You want to correct that?
The minutes, I'm sorry.
All right, the minutes. Thank you.
My apologies. Item number 10 says Mr. Nix abstained from voting. That would be Mr. Nix opposed.
Okay, so you want to change abstain from opposed
Two opposed.
to opposed.
That's correct.
All right, and I have one on item 9, the second sentence, report included in the backup. What I wanted to correct it is report included in the backup was requested by the Planning and Economic Development Committee. Are there any other additions or corrections? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising one hand, please. It passed 7-0. Next on the agenda, we are going to adjust it a little bit, so bear with me. Pat, if you will give us your agriculture update, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
You need to make the motion to move the agenda item up.
I would like to make a motion then that we move agenda item 13, which deals with agriculture update, up to underneath number 2. And we're also going to move item number...
13? Is it 13?
Yeah, 13, yes. He's in the strategies review.
Okay, gotcha.
And we're going to move item 7 up underneath that, 13. Now, we're not going to discuss all of 13, but just a part of it right now. Can I have a second to that vague motion?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising one hand, 7-0. Okay, Pat, take us through the agriculture.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a pretty difficult time getting in touch with some very important people that I wanted to talk to, discuss with this, and but I did gain a little information. I got some facts here that are available on the internet or on about agriculture in the county, but I just want to throw some things out there right quick. 815 farms in the county. 62,409 acres of farms in the county. Average size of the farm is 77 acres. 159,422,000 economic impact. Okay, so agriculture has a place in the county. Me being an ag guy, we are under extreme pressure to sell, move, get out of everybody's way. I know that's just an old boy's way of saying it. I talk to a lot of landowners. The phone rings constantly. Is your land for sale? Is your land for sale? To a point where it gets annoying to them. Nothing we can do about that here. But anyway, farming is very, very important here. It's already established. The tax base is there. From a farming guy, from agricultural standpoint, some of us guys don't quite understand, well, why do we want to build a big industrial site, a shell building, give it to a manufacturer, give them tax breaks, give them for 100 jobs, when the economic impact is already established from agriculture. If that's kind of clear. I know that's kind of a cloudy picture. So we're aware of, you know, the need for jobs, the need for agriculture. But there's a lot of land in the county that should be reclaimed, for a better word. You know, around Seneca, some sites that could probably be reused, updated to an industrial base instead of keep moving out in the country. I see on our here off of Whitfield Road, they've established in another county. I forget the name of it. I have to look it up and see. right next to where the truck stop's gonna be, Oconee Manufacturing Park. Well, that's just 2 miles from the other Oconee County manufacturing site that, for some mysterious reason, can't sell. I know what it is, I think. That site, the Reed Head Farm, had the most important soil rating of any farm in the county. Okay, when that land was bought, so, it's probably not compatible, you know, and that might be one of the reasons why that land's still sitting there. So there could be an opportunity there for that land to be traded back to for ag use, you know, for another site that's probably more suitable. I know they got a lot of money tied up in it. So that's a roundabout way to getting around it. You know, agriculture in the county is very important. Some questions that have been brought up to me. I know the Ag Board has talked about setbacks from people that's bought property next to you. But it seems like the agriculture owner has to be the one to give up the setback. It don't ever seem to be on the other side of the fence. It always seems, well, you set your stuff back. So that's something some guys want to have addressed. Soil and Water Conservation District and other people have where you can put your land in conservation reserve. Several options, you know, to try to protect some land. It's very, very stringent, the criteria for that, the qualifications for that. And I know some people that are willing to put their land in some kind of conservation, but they don't quite qualify. Maybe their soil's not as important, they don't have erodible soils. And a lot of that's because these guys have already done their work to protect their land, soil-wise and stuff. So maybe we could come up with a second option for some of these people that are willing to put their land into conservation and to protect it for future uses, agriculture-wise, put timber on it, you know, to keep it in open spaces. I thought maybe, you know, I don't know where the money would come from, how that would be funded. Some of the ideas were if the county would buy somebody's 100-acre tract, you know, and then lease that back to a young guy that wants to farm. Carbon credits is a big thing. I noticed here in our agenda, there's some things mentioned about carbon credits, so that's something the county should try to look into to capitalize on. Economic impact, I just read, open areas are still an attraction to this area. A lot of people come here because we still have open areas. We need to protect those, and not just the forest up here in the mountains, but some of our land around still needs to, you know, are attracted to some people. Talked to a friend of mine that lives in Simpsonville, and he said, Pat, you need to do something. He said, I don't have an option or an answer for you. He said, but Simpsonville and Greenville did not plan for this. It's just one housing subdivision after one housing subdivision after one housing subdivision. One fear they have there is, I think a lot of us may agree, this economic thing is really, really rocking. It's going to end. And what they're worried about is some of these housing projects that has started, and if something crashes, they're going to be abandoned. It's just going to be sitting there. And that has happened in 2007-8 in this area. There were some places that sit for better than 10 years that was just bailed out. You know, somebody hung the bank with them. So I think our neighbors to the east could probably give us some suggestions about how to protect some of our land. Just from uncontrolled growth. I loved Adam's departing words were dear to my heart. What he said to support agriculture and farming. I don't have any answers. I don't have a answer. I have suggestions, and I'd be willing to share them with whoever, you know, when I get some more input from my constituents. But let's just keep that in mind, like Adam said, you know, when he left, that we need to keep, you know, some of these lands open and available. Maybe some economic, you know, I've heard a lot about the Utica Mill Hill area here on the radio the other day. Young lady said there's maybe 700 houses over there. Just very few of them are for sale, but, you know, if that could be basically traded for some ag land somewhere, you know, to update it and build houses. Because I know we got to have them. One thing, Mr. Chairman, something was brought up to me, and I've seen this, experienced it personally, Leland cypresses. seems like when somebody buys land next to a farmer, they want to put up Leland cypresses so they can have their privacy. And they put them too close to the fence, and the Leland cypress grows better than anything. The next thing you know, it's over the fence and into this other guy's land. And I don't know if there's any zoning, any regulations, that goes back to the setbacks. But the biggest complaint I got was people complaining about these folks planting Leland cypresses on their property lines. They put them way too close. That's all I have right now. I'll be better prepared next time, Mr. Chairman, when I get my
Okay.
act together. But we have lots of support for that, I talked to a lot of people, yeah, I'd like to protect my land, but I don't want zoning. So, well, we can't have it both ways. We're gonna have, they don't, a lot of guys, don't want if the opportunity arises for them, a lot of them brought up medical reasons. What if something, if I put my land in conservation, then I get sick, I can't sell land to pay for health care. So that's why some of that was a new one I heard. Go ahead.
The having it both ways is the issue, and conservations are definitely strict because it's a state or national following as opposed to something local, and you've got no recourse once you've done it. Whereas zoning was the option that allowed for voluntary zoning in and then allowed for an option back out through the Board of Zoning Appeals. So it was at least an option out. But 4 years ago, when that voluntary option down to the fair play area, hey, do you want to protect your property? It got lots of resistance. Is that same resistance still showing up?
Education is the key. People don't know the ins and outs. All they hear is the one word.
Well, they hear zoning, and zoning is obviously a bad word, but zoning allows for those setback protections. It allows for those override protections. It's one of the best ways some of these counties have found to protect your individual property.
Right.
Is you zone it agriculture, and now it's on public record that you've got that level of protection. And if a developer comes in next door, he can't come in and now wipe you out. Whereas while everybody talks about that we have the Fair Farming Act at the state, but it doesn't cover the local guy's going to absolutely, that developer with 240 votes because he's got 240 houses, he's going to come to county council and say, you need to protect me here. Every time they spray, everybody gets the flu or whatever. Now all of a sudden, while there is the Right to Farm Act, it doesn't protect you against, hey, now you need to spray on Tuesdays when the wind's only blowing 4 miles an hour or less, southeast, and only in the morning. And all of a sudden, you're put out of business because of those issues.
Pat's going to come back to us. I'd like for him to come back in 2 weeks with a little bit more.
It'd be wonderful to hear what kind of pushback, if there's still that resistance. It may be worth visiting again, it may not be.
Everything you say is true. I mean, even though we do have the Right to Farm Act, it is tough, especially with people that don't understand, exactly what we do. But I won't be long-winded there, Mr. Chairman, but education on the zoning thing, I think, would help with people that don't come in with such I'm against it even before I got out of the car.
Or a steamroll approach from the government side.
Right, and I don't know if it could be fragmented as the word, I don't know if one property owner can say, hey, I want this to protect my land, but the next one don't. So I think education is key, coming from the right person or the right people, and
Okay.
that's something we can do. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Pat. Next up is Frankie wants to talk about meeting time discussion. And
Okay, as I was said at our last meeting 3 months ago, I've had several people come to me wanting to have our meetings back to 6 o'clock due to the fact that they get off of work at 5 and they can't get here by 5 o'clock or before 5 to be at the meeting. And I was just bringing it to y'all to see what y'all want to do, if y'all want to move the time back to, because it was originally moved up, and it was said at that original time that if any time it needs to be put back at 6, we can vote to move it back. So this is just a citizens that said they would attend. I'm not gonna say guarantee anybody's coming, but it just said they were at 10, but they can't get here at 5 o'clock because they work till 5, and some of them work at a distance where they don't get home till 5:30 or something till 6, but they could still get to this meeting by 6 o'clock. So it's whatever y'all decide.
You want to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we move our meetings back to 6. I would say on a trial basis to see if the attendance at our meetings move up. I mean, we are well known for only having 2 to 3 people at any given time, unless it's a big controversy thing like the junkyard ordinance or anything, we had a crowd. But I would make a motion that we move it back to 6
Is there a second?
for a temporary.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, let's have a discussion then. Let's start down at the left. David?
I think the biggest impact is to the county employees. I think we should hear from them as to what their feelings are on moving the time back.
Let's put them in the spotlight then. I don't know if it's appropriate, but when they get past 5, some, like Adam was on a salary. I think these ladies are on an hourly. And I'm always very sensitive about employees having to go beyond their stated time that they're supposed to work, et cetera. They all have things at home. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask their opinions at this particular time. Acting, do you think it's appropriate? I don't know.
Killing me.
I'm killing you.
It's all up to y'all. I mean, we're here to serve the public. So if no one can get here until 6 o'clock to voice their opinions, then we do it at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
Because
let's
we are
leave it up
here.
to us
We are
then.
public servants.
Let's leave it up to us. Down at the end then, on the right, how about you?
I know for me, the later meetings mean I probably don't get to put my kids to bed, depending on how late it is.
Okay.
For example, tonight, we've got 2 at various practices, and so when I leave here, I'll go pick 2 kids up and hopefully get home in time for the other 2. But I know for me, it's much more convenient at 5.
Pat?
Although I'm self-employed, getting here at 5 is a kind of a stretch for me, so 6 works for me. But, you know, I'm kind of a little flexible on Frankie's proposal there. If, when we get back in the wintertime, it gets dark a little early, we could go back to 5 possibly. But,
Gary?
Well, I would oppose the motion because I like it at 5.
Let's see, we know that you're for 6.
Mine originally was employee-related, staff-related, as far as having an hour of downtime, coming back in and having to stay for a meeting. I hear 5, I hear 6, I've not heard 5:30, as, you know, as an option to kind of split the difference. I think at this point, it really boils down to, if we can make it at 5, we should keep it at 5. If we can't make it at that time, I do hear what you're saying as far as public. I've been doing this now 4 years, maybe longer, and this is the most attendance we've had, bar maybe 2 other meetings in 4 years. I don't know that it would have changed the attendance. I would be shocked if it changed the attendance.
Well, then let's have a vote on this at this point. Frankie, do you want to say anything else?
Can I change my motion?
You want to amend the motion?
Amend the motion, yes.
Go ahead and amend the motion.
You'll have to have a second.
Listening to what Mr. Johnson said, I would like to amend the motion to make it 5:30. That would give you a little extra time, and it still give you hopefully time enough to get home and get little ones situated. At least that's a 30 minutes instead of a whole hour later, at 30 minutes. And it would give the public, hopefully, if they're wanting to attend, give them 30 minutes extra to get to the meetings.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Who seconded it? Pat seconded that. Got a lot of motions going here. The motion lady down there is very busy with her pen. Okay, do we need to have a discussion about this? David? Down here on the right? Okay, so the original motion was to 6. The amended motion is to 5:30. Now let's go ahead and call a vote. All of those in favor of meeting at 5:30 rather than 5 o'clock, raise one hand. 1, 2, 3. I got 3 for going to 5:30. All those that want to keep it at 5 o'clock, raise one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has failed. We are going to stay at a 5 o'clock meeting. Now, let's go back to the original agenda. Item number 3, public comment for non-agenda items. Perry Smith, hot dog, another Smith. Good for you.
First time speaking with you guys. I'm Perry Smith, and I'm from the District 4. Just want to speak on a few things. I'm not sure how much of this is going to pertain to you guys or not. I know, Pat, you said some things that I really want to hit on. The county budget that they put out for me is too high, 76 million, with our population being what it is. Compared to Pickens, they're almost double, and they're less than us. If you guys haven't seen Mr. Haney's breakdown of the budget, you guys should really watch that. He found some several errors. So I'm going to jump. The budget is something that you guys, if you guys could get them to work on that would be great. Pat, you mentioned I guess that's what I'm thinking is the industrial park on 59. Is that one of the ones you was talking about?
The Reed Head Farm, the one that originally bought?
Across from the Mennonite school?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that to me was a huge waste. I'm not sure what's going on there. If we want to get people in to build there or put a plant there, we should at least keep this place presentable. It should be bush hogged. The signs should look nice. They shouldn't be grew up. It looks terrible. I'm not sure who's responsible for that, but with all the millions of $10, $12 million that we spent on that project, it's a shame for, I'd love to sell 300 acres for $12 million.
Sewer line.
Sewer line, yeah. That's just ridiculous. The conservational easements, I wish we would stop allowing that in our county. And I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. When we put our land in conservational easements that don't have a home on it, and what we do is we tell people they can no longer put homes on this land. That means that me as a person raising a family can't go buy 100 acres and build a home on it and raise a family. There's land up in right off Rocky Gap right now that I would love to buy that is in some type of a conservational easement. Yeah, I can buy that land and I can go look at all the pretty timber on it and I can even grow some corn on it, but I can't build one house for me and my family. Or better than that, I can't allow my children to put their homes on it. I can understand not allowing a business, but if you're wanting to protect the creek, give it to responsible people by this. When you put stuff in conservational easements, you limit what citizens can do. They can't buy this land and build on it. To me, this is just a communist act to keep you from building on property. I think that's what this is. It's what legal river rats want to do, is to keep people from building so they won't contaminate a stream, when me as a homeowner can protect that just as much. My brother owns 380 acres up there on Rocky Gap, and he has all of them streams to his access that this land beside him don't, because it's in a conservational easement. You mentioned the Leland cypresses. I can tell you what I done to Leland cypresses that was at my other property. I butchered them suckers. When they grew through my fence, I butchered them so much. I butchered them as much as I could to make them die. I sprayed them with whatever I could. If they grew through my fence, I tried to kill them. That's, to me, I can't stop my neighbor from building, or from putting these Leland cypresses there, but he can't stop me from killing them. And that's exactly what I done. I killed them. I butchered them till they was no longer there. And there wasn't nothing anybody else could say. We all know that our roads are terrible in this county. Whatever y'all do, I know they're gonna start doing some work on them, but man, I got a new truck that it feels like I'm driving a wagon on some of these roads. Litter control. I know Kane keeps bringing up this litter control. I know we have a jailhouse over here that's slap full of people sitting on their butts that we should put out on these roads. Back when I was little, I took people on the chain gang, what we called the chain gang, when it was over there in Five Forks. Me and my little brother would make, Trent Smith, we would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and take these dudes sandwiches and apples, and we done all kinds of stuff for these folks. But they were prisoners. We didn't really realize that, but they were prisoners. We need to do that. We need to put these guys to work. If they can, break the law, we should put them to work and make them start cleaning up our roads. I don't know if we still do that or not. I guess that's about all I got to say.
Okay.
Thank
you.
I had one more minute, didn't I?
Well,
Or 4 or 5, I don't know.
but you did good.
Thank y'all, I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Anybody that did not get in on the sign-up sheet for general comments? All right. Commission member comments. Frankie, you wanted to make a couple of comments.
Yeah, I wanted to give everybody an update on the planning director. I called Miss Amanda today. The 2 applicants that we had, one was offered the job, but yet he wanted to work from Kentucky in his home for 18 months, which anyone with any common sense would know you can't be a planning director here and live in Kentucky and try to do the job. And the other guy, I don't think he was ever offered the job, but he took another job like 3 days after the interview. The listing is put back out there again, and it's also went to tenant to top, I think she said, to where we get broader
Coverage.
hopefully get some more people. But that's where it stands now. We may get one next month, we may not get one for 6 months. It just depends on how fast or how somebody wants the job. So that's where it stands at that. My other comment is about this agenda that we have tonight. I'm very disgusted that we took invocation and the pledge off of our agenda. Or did we decide we didn't want to pray before these meetings and ask God to lead us in making the decisions we need to make, and decide we're not Americans anymore and don't want to say the pledge? Why was those items taken off this agenda? That's my comments.
I'd like to make a motion that we add them to the agenda now, and
Well, I think since it's not on the agenda, we shouldn't be making motions about it. And I was explicitly told by the county attorney that this, if it's not on the agenda, we shouldn't be making motions so that we can have public input also.
Can we put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
And the next, and the next, and the next, just like it was before. I don't know who thought they were all powerful to take it off the agenda to start with without asking the other 6 members.
All right. I have a few things to make comments. I want to thank the planning department staff for what they're doing. I don't think people can fully appreciate how much time and effort that they're spending in trying to take care of the county business. The amount of effort is just incredible, and they've done a wonderful job stepping up to it. The code enforcement position is open again, so that person has gone in another direction. And Laura, thank you for helping us out with the secretarial help. We really appreciate it. I want everybody to know that Gary had actually stepped into that job if Laura hadn't. So we need to thank Gary for that. I made a collision report to the Law Enforcement Committee and also the Planning and Economic Development Committee. The only housing comment that I made to the county council was about the pay discrepancy for the county versus statewide of about $10,000. Does anybody else have any comments to make? Okay, let's move up to the next item, which is the county addresses assigned. We were asked about growth and to see about it. If you'll take a look at what the GIS lady has given us, you can see where residential addresses have been for the last few years. And you can see where the major amount of growth is in District 1 and District 3, and some of it around in 5, around the lake area there. And you can see that from 2016 to from 2020, over 1,100 people have had residences, addresses issued. And around the area around the student housing, about 1,100 additional addresses issued. So there's growth in 2 general areas in the county. If nobody has any other comments about that, we'll move on to the next item. The issue was brought up about voting for us up here. And when I talked to the county attorney, I asked him about that, and he said there are 2 specific conditions when you should not be voting on a particular issue. One of them is if you have a business interest. Obviously, you or your family members have a business interest that's involved, and they even ask you to leave the meeting during that time. The other issue is if you are not knowledgeable about that issue at all. In Gary's case, he recused himself because he was a new member and he didn't know enough about the topic. So that's a very legitimate reason. What they want you to do is to vote, no matter how uncomfortable the topic is, they want you to vote. Now, obviously, the third way is just not to attend the meeting at all. And then you won't be voting one way or the other. But that's what we should be doing. So 2 general conditions, again, that you should not be voting on is if you're not familiar with the topic or if you have a business interest involved. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, and that's why you see that piece of paper come around when you do recuse yourself from voting. All right, July and August meeting discussion and vote. I would like to entertain the idea or get a general discussion about eliminating one of the meetings in July and one of the meetings in August. The county council meets once in July, they meet once in August. Also, one of our meetings in July is on a Thursday, so we will only have about a 45-minute meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and make this motion about, I'll make a motion that the July the 8th and the August the 2nd Planning Commission meetings be canceled to coincide with the County Council meeting schedule of 1 meeting per month. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, let's have a general discussion about it. Is anybody?
Did we not vote at the first of the year to have 2 meetings a month, every month, except the month of December?
We did.
We do not run our meetings in concession with county council. We're a totally separate commission. we're not county council. Just because they're not having meetings doesn't mean we don't have meetings. We have plenty of stuff to discuss. We've already missed 4 meetings this year due to this stupid coronavirus and not having a director. I'll say that there's no reason for us not to. Our meeting schedule was set early on, and this July meeting is the library board or something meeting at 6 o'clock. I feel that the planning commission meeting is a little bit more important than a library board. And we should have our meetings and they wait until we get through.
Anybody else? Alex, Jay?
Was anybody not, already not gonna be here for those meetings? I mean, I don't particularly have anything planned, so it doesn't necessarily matter to me.
I know I'm traveling, but, you know, at my age, I don't travel far. David, you got? Pat?
I know in January, we set a real aggressive agenda in trying to continue that momentum with the comprehensive plan in saying, let's tackle these objectives. And even if that was, many of those objectives are not objectives that we can actually control, other than simply telling the newspaper that the county is interested in this project so that whatever committee out there in the county that is responsible for it knows that they've got support of the planning department. But we had a real aggressive agenda to go through and say, we're going to try to accomplish these things on comprehensive plan, review these things on comprehensive plan, et cetera. We missed 4 meetings, like Frankie said, and I hate for us to miss them just to say, let's don't work. I'm for trying to set up the meetings, and even if they're short meetings, on trying to get through. Again, I know we were talking about, hey, let's get these various committees in here to report to us. How can we help? How can we support? I think we should continue trying to do that through the rest of this year.
Gary?
I can go either way. I second the motion in, respect for your wishes as chair. And I think I could go either way on the vote. And some of the comments that have been made are making an impact on me. I'll make a decision when the vote comes.
Anybody else? Well, let's have a call to vote. All those that are in agreement with having 1 meeting in July and 1 meeting in August, raise 1 hand. I'm raising 1 hand. That's 2. All those that want to continue with 2 meetings in July and 2 in August, raise 1 hand, please. Get them all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5 have voted for having 2 meetings, so the motion fails. We will have 2 meetings in July and 2 in August. All right, back to the agenda. Number 9, coordination with the Ag Advisory Group. This is one that I added on there. We are not, in the business world, it is not unusual for a large company to have divisions or departments siloed. And I kind of get a feeling that that's what's occurring right now with us in the Planning Commission versus not coordinating activities with, say, the Agriculture Advisory Group or, say, the Tourist Group. And I would like to make an effort to reach out to these groups to see how we can coordinate our activities with each other so that one group is not trying to solve a problem or deal with an issue that we are trying to deal with at the same time so that we can pool resources. In that effort, I have talked to the chairperson of the Agriculture Advisory Group, and I would like to have the commission's permission to attend that meeting and see if we can't coordinate our activities. In addition, Chapter 8 of the comprehensive plan deals with agriculture, and we're trying to go through some of the strategies that we should review in 2021, and I would like to see if they can't help us with that review since they're closely aligned with that. I think a little bit more than we are, even though we have Pat doing that. I would also like to get involved with the tourist group too, and maybe even the library group, and see if we can't all come together and work towards the future of the county in a little bit more, I guess, productive manner. Does anybody have any thoughts on that, or what?
You asked for permission to attend. I don't know that that's an appropriate thing for this committee to give you permission or not. I think that that would be the Ag Committee saying that, hey, you're invited to come, or it's a public forum and you're welcome to go. I don't know that we should be giving you permission if that was an actual question.
Well, it is an actual question, because people will say, well, gee, are you speaking for us? Or are you going as a private citizen? Do I need to make a motion for that? I would just much rather keep it low-key and just let me go and say, you
I
know.
would completely agree that we should be involved in as many committees as we are invited to participate in. You mentioned library being one, tourism being one, all those. I would defer to Pat as to, do we need additional people at the Ag? And it doesn't matter to me, whoever wants to go, but I don't want to step on toes, and I want to make sure we're there for the right reason.
Well, I had talked to the lady, the chairperson, and Pat, you had mentioned setbacks. And we had talked about it. And I wanted to talk with her more about it. I just am concerned that we're not coordinating activities.
We definitely need to be, we've got on our comp plan a ton of things that are coordinated activities with lots of different organizations out there in the county.
And
Maybe we could do a resolution, I'm not sure. But what my idea is that we could say that we'd like our chairperson to be involved in other committees as he or she would feel appropriate. And the reason why is to try to dissolve some of this silo effect that's occurring in our county. You know, we don't have to put that in the resolution, but that's the idea, is we probably do need to address, why. And that, in you representing us in those meetings, I think would be very helpful.
I'm not talking about being a member of that group.
Right.
I'm talking about
Is it-
sitting right out there where they are and just listening to what they're talking about. And then if they ask something that maybe we can help them with, or I can have some input into what they're talking about, that, hey, yes, we're aligned with that, or whatever. Think about it. I would like, let's put it this way. Why don't you let me go to the next Ag Advisory Group meeting, and then let me come back and tell you how it worked out, and let's see how it goes from there. Let me do that. How about that?
I think a representative going to any meeting is a wonderful thing. And for us to have feedback about what's going on, and is there any way we can help, or offering our support is a wonderful thing. So I'm definitely not being opposed to that.
Pat?
When you mentioned that, Mr. Chairman, you told me you had planned that. I had planned going to the next ag meeting, but, as
We'll
a,
both go.
and I was gonna ask that, would it be any reason we couldn't both go?
No.
But I spoke to several of those board members, and they put a lot of time and effort in what they do. I think they kind of feel left out sometimes. So I think it'd be great to create some unity and some camaraderie with those guys and ladies that are passionate about what they do. So I think it would be a step in the right direction.
What is our actual restricted number? We can't have more than 3 at a meeting?
Well, if we got, from what I understand, it's 4.
We can't have 4 people at a meeting, at some other meeting?
Yeah, you can have 3, but you can't have 4 because 4 would be a quorum.
4 would be a quorum.
Okay.
But because we have 7 members, but we only have 6 members, and it changes, and you get down to decimal points.
So, Mr. Chair, do we need to get on their agenda for speaking?
I've already talked
You
to
did?
her about it,
Okay, okay.
and whatever, and from what I understand, it's this coming Monday at 4 o'clock.
That's even worse time than 5.
There you go. Why don't you bring it up to them? Okay, then, is everybody comfortable then that Pat and I will probably show up and we'll come back and we'll tell you what transpired there? But I think it's very important that we try to break down this silo effect and we should try to work together and see what we can do to be more effective. All right, sewer meeting and tour comments is the next item. Gary and I went down and took the full sewer tour. That's a rhyme. About 2 hours long, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we're well qualified. Gary, you want to take it away and tell us about a sewer tour?
Okay, well, let me start. I didn't know that much about the Oconee Joint Sewer Authority. And I went to one of their meetings, and the reason I could go to it is because we weren't meeting that night. They have meetings the same time we do. So they have a meeting tonight. Well, at the meeting, I kind of opened up my eyes a little bit as to what their agenda was. And the biggest thing, of course, it's been covered in the newspaper and everything, is the revenues. They need more money to run that plant. And this is the Conross Creek plant that I'm talking about. Okay, so by attending there, I got, interest in talking with the plant manager, Chris, and the director, I should say, and then later meeting the plant manager and going on a tour. So getting into that, I brought a visual. I determined that this bolt will tell you a lot about the condition of the plant. You can tell, because it's still got some thread on it, that it is a bolt. And that's significant. It could still be used in some way, but it wouldn't be preferred to have to use it. There's a lot of things down at our plant that this bolt would signify, it would say, yeah, this thing probably is working all right now, but something bad could happen if you didn't get a newer bolt. And I think that visual will put some impact in your minds as far as that tour. Now, let me first say that, or secondly, the plant tour was done very professional, and it was wide open for us to ask any question, and comments were made about, conditions and that kind of thing. What was good, what was bad. They've got brand new equipment in some areas. They've been doing some things which help with the planning, okay? They've got their priorities set. So they've got a lot going on, but the day-to-day operations, some of the things that were mentioned were kind of scary. I won't get into details because it would get too long-winded, but there are things going on within the three major cities, Walhalla, Westminster, and Seneca, things that they're doing or not doing that is affecting the plant. And some of those things are very significant in short-term and long-term use of the plant. So I didn't want to say as much as I already have said. So I would just say this, is that if you have questions, any particular details that you're interested in, I'll be glad to cover those with you by phone, or after the meeting I can stick around or something like that. But I think the impression that we all should have in our minds about the plant is that it's, number one, under good management right now. If they had the funds, number two, they could make significant differences. And number three, the question of, how fast can they get things done before things break down? But they are addressing the problems that they have. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that. Dave?
So I read the newspaper headlines, 100,000 gallon spill just recently.
Sorry, could you say that last part?
100,000 gallon spill just recently in the newspaper. I read the newspaper, we don't have the proper maintenance procedures to manage day-to-day operations, processes and procedures. I've read before that we refunded the cities, was it 4.5 million or 9 million They voted to refund the cities back millions of dollars. Why didn't they use that money to do day-to-day maintenance? So now we're sitting here and we've got this situation where if we ran a nuclear power plant the way they run the sewer system, it'd be scary. So my concern is we've got all this money coming in and we're talking about maybe extending sewer lines down to I-85 and all that kind of stuff, when in fact, I'm concerned that we don't maintain the infrastructure that we have. So is that something that the Planning Commission could look into or help address? Do we have adequate management? I mean, I've got a concern about it from all the headlines I've read.
Well, the county is not part of the board. It's the 3 cities, municipalities, and the county is not involved in it. But what Gary said is...
But the county, a lot of the infrastructure is not in the confines of the municipalities. It's outside the municipalities. All that infrastructure is in the county.
I know.
We
but
should be involved.
I don't know the intricacies of it, but I do know the comment that was made that Gary just said, if municipality ABC is not keeping up with what they should do, then it is carried downstream and causing a problem in the sewer plant or in the ducting or the structure going down to the sewer plant. I'm not a sewer expert.
As a matter of fact, I don't think the Conner Ross facility is in the confines of a municipality.
No,
Is it?
it's not.
But it's what the city, by them not doing their job, is that a county, should that be a county problem? Because the cities should be the ones having to correct the problems and do their job. Should the rest of the county that doesn't have sewer, that has to dig septic tanks, have to pay and be concerned about the city not doing their job?
I don't know the
Since
answer.
we're not a part of the sewer authority, then the municipality should be the ones having to fix this problem and give the joint regional sewer authority the million, whatever it is that they're asking for to help upgrade. Yet they're punishing the rest of the county that only has septic tanks. And most of us don't have any problem with our tanks because we maintain them. So, I mean, I don't know.
There is a lot of sewer infrastructure outside the municipalities.
The ones that have it.
However, the lion's share is within the municipalities, and also the municipalities are the ones that were refunded all those millions of dollars back a few years ago.
The county didn't get any of that.
No, they didn't.
So,
Any other comments about the sewer people?
I got one comment and I need to be excused, remember?
Sure, yeah.
Are they any indication that there is any constraints on expansion? Did you get any indication of that? I mean, if somebody wanted to come build a 100-house development right next to an existing line, would they be denied or would they have
I'm
granted
just trying to answer
access?
it, and I'm hoping I'm right when I say this, because I have to qualify. I'm not.
Right, I just wonder if you had that
I just visited
indication.
on a tour.
Yeah.
My understanding is if everything that they have there was up and running as it should be, they do not have any capacity problems.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
And it seemed like that they, when they were speaking to us, told us with that capacity that they had another 40% or something, or 35% or something that they can.
They have problems that they have to solve first before they can get into that additional capacity.
It seems like you say stormwater, when we have peaks, that's when they have.
That's when they had the issues, is because of that stormwater issue.
I'm behind you 100%.
Okay, enough for
I
this.
just got one other thing, hopefully this takes care of your question, David, is because the OJRSA is run by a board, it would be entirely appropriate for you to contact one of the board members and let them know what your views are, and ask them questions that I probably couldn't answer.
Understand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gone. I
Okay,
appreciate your report.
it was a fun tour.
I wish I had gone.
Well, They're open just about 20, they're open 24 hours a day. The next topic we have is Exit 4 Fair Play, and Mr. Jackson wanted to talk to us about that.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Kenneth Jackson from Fair Play. I'd like to start by saying I appreciate Gary Galvin calling me today, actually, to ask me to do this was on the agenda. He's doing a great job as our district rep, reaching out to folks like me. I had planned on coming anyway, but
Can I
it's
ask
good
you
that
to
he did.
speak up just a little bit? I know I'm a little bit hard of
Okay.
hearing, but
So yeah, I appreciate that a lot. He's doing his job, and I'd plan on coming anyway. So, because it's been a couple of months, want to give you guys a few updates on what's going on. So I will do that. Okay, so next slide, please. So a few updates on what's been going on. Like you say, trying to coordinate with folks and whatnot. I've been trying to do the same, and so figuring out even who to coordinate with, let alone get them coordinated, is tough. But anyway, just a few things. I'll start. Actually, you guys are aware of the motion that you guys did just to do the ongoing study and all that, so I'll just keep on going through here. I did meet with Anderson County as well back in April, and that was the leadership. That's the county administrator and several folks were there, and his staff, to just talk about what's going on at the interchange, what you guys were doing, and try to see if there can be some connection made there. So we did that. Don't know whether he has reached out to anybody yet over here, but I know we had that. Part of what came out of that is I learned that there is a governor-appointed administrator on the SCDOT for our region. So that was new information that came out of that meeting, which is important because DOT is going to be involved in what's going on. So I met with them and also our council rep at the Exit 4 interchange. And we just sat in the parking lot and watched traffic and drove around a little bit, and all came to the same conclusion. Everybody still is, yeah, this is a problem, and it is heavily trafficked. Also learned that there's an Appalachian Council of Governments. I guess you guys know about that. I don't. But anyway, they're involved in traffic kind of stuff to some extent. So I've communicated with that person. Again, coordinating and all that. One of the real things I want to talk to you guys about will be, I did get a copy of the traffic impact study that the Speedway developer had put together and submitted to SCDOT. I did that, reviewed that, and that's really why I wanted to come to talk to you guys tonight, and we'll go through a few of those slides. As you can tell, no one else, this is not a one-man show on this thing. I have continued to engage other residents. There are many folks here. I could have brought a bus, but, until we're gonna vote on something or something significant, I'm just carrying the weight, and I'm fine with that. So, but there is still support. It's just not a one-man show. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and I do want to at least acknowledge, Chairman Smith, you were at the, like, as you mentioned, you were at the Planning Economic Development Committee. I listened in on that. A couple of slides I want to highlight, even that came from that I thought might be appropriate to steal this discussion. So if you will, please. Next slide. Oh boy, it's tough to see. Okay, so again, traffic impact studies need to be done for all high development areas. They talked about required infrastructure, turn lanes, land use regulations for high impact areas, gas stations, for example. Next slide, please. These are some of the things that were on that presentation. Second slide is broad objectives for improving road safety. Got to emphasize safety. Engineering roadways and intersections to minimize conflict points. We need to get ahead of it, not behind it, as we are now already in that area. Next slide, please. No, I think you skipped one. Hang on. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe that was it. Okay, and there was a couple in there, but anyway, that was it. So now what I really wanted to share with you guys are a couple of slides from the traffic impact study itself. And I think instead of using this laser pointer, I'll probably use it. So this slide and the next three are actually copies of things I got off of that traffic impact study I got from SCDOT. So, and they did inform me that the permit that they would have to approve at some point is not going to move forward until they get a revised study that's been completed per their request. Now, I don't know, again, I can't figure this stuff out. I even asked the question, a permit for what? I don't know what they would be permitting. But anyway, there's still, the existing traffic impact study is not sufficient for what they need, whatever they need. Having said that, this is a copy out of that, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes to talk about that. So here's I-85 running up and down the page. Here's Whitfield Road coming off here. The Loves is here. The Speedway would be right here, and this is the layout of what the Speedway, how they are envisioning putting that Speedway in. This is the problem I want to really highlight with this, that doesn't really jump out at you in the traffic impact study. How's a semi gonna make a less than 90-degree turn to get into this area? It's not gonna happen. I don't drive a semi, but I've pulled boats all my life. You don't make less than 90-degree turns at any rapid pace. How are you gonna do that? So regardless of whether you got one truck or two, it doesn't happen. Then you have to also come off of that road onto here to get back to the interstate. How are you gonna make that? And you got traffic coming in here. This is not a good situation for making turns for semis. So that clearly needs to be considered. This is the planned entry-exit point to that gas station for semis, period. That's it. It doesn't really jump out in that study, all right? If you'll hit the next slide, please. And I know this is kind of dark, but that's the problem with the Loves. The trucks can't, there's a truck right there where that arrow is, that cannot get off the road and get out of the way. They get jammed up and can't get in there. That's the problem. Now we're gonna take that same similar problem, I guess you're saying, and move it on the other side of the interstate. So that's the big issue we need to highlight. Next slide, please. And my last one on a couple, I guess, on the traffic impact study. This is an SCDOT document itself. This was referenced in the traffic impact study that the guys did. So I highlighted a couple of things. On right turn lanes, free-flowing leg, on an unsignalized intersection, you know, I guess it's saying you need to add lanes, I guess, right turn storage lanes. I won't read all that. You guys all have been mailed a copy of this, or you will, but the SCDOT documents themselves say you need to add, or it's suggested you add turn lanes. That's for a right turn lane. Next slide, please. And there's for left turn lanes. All entrances to major residential, commercial, and industrial developments needs to be considered. That's their documents, not mine. So I wanted to highlight that, SCDOT. Next slide, please. So and I did hear from Appalachian Council of Governments Vice Chair. This is direct quote. SCDOT would have a role in decision-making because they need to approve the encroachment permit that provides access points to the property. I'm not sure 100% what DOT reviews and all that, but the point is, this is concerning. I don't know who approves what and when on all this, you know, because they're saying here they approve, that it looks, I read this to say like SCDOT approves access points, encroachments, and they've got like a checklist of things, but really, does safety and traffic situations fall into that checklist? I don't know, and that's troubling to me. I just don't know who's doing what and how things are done. And that's the one I want to make sure and bring to your attention. I think it's my last slide, Mr. Chairman. So currently, 3 significant questions. What's going on now regarding the Speedway development? If you guys know, maybe you don't, but it'd be just kind of curious. And or, as we mentioned, I think somebody else mentioned, that proposed industrial park. That's all right there across the street from each other. Is there any permitting going on there? We need to watch that. What are the next couple of decision points? Who, what, when, and where are things going to happen? Is it SCDOT first before it comes down here, vice versa? But you know, we got to make sure that everything's being reviewed. And from the Appalachian Council of Governments gentleman, he sent me some stuff, and there's 3 areas at least that he brought to my attention in Oconee County that are getting road work because of traffic or whatever. None of them are on this. I mean, how did this, which to me, I drive those. One of them is down there by the Yoders. That's one. One of them is at Whitfield Road, but before you get to where the Speedway is, so apparently that's on a list to get some work. And the third one is up in Oakway, where Jim's Auto is. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, there's another area that I travel regularly coming back and forth to Seneca. None of those appear to me to have as much traffic as where we're talking, and yet this area is not even on the list. So I don't know how we need to figure out how things get on that list. Sorry I took a little long, but that was my comment before you guys get into it, and I appreciate your patience again. Yes, sir.
Going back to slide that had the 3 big bubbles and the side road access point. Is that side road to the Y there, is that state road or county road? Where 5, 6, and 7 entry points
I think
are.
that is a county road, but I honestly do not know. I'm pretty sure it's a county road.
So a lot
I
of
don't
your
know.
questions were actually for South Carolina DOT because they wouldn't come through this department. They would be SCDOT questions, but.
And I did forward
But
those.
who that road is would be the only area where we might have some opportunity to say, hey, let's widen the mouth of that road.
That's Grubbs Road.
Grubbs Road, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
And topography-wise there, is it even able to be expanded to turn both ways.
I agree. All valid questions.
And I don't know that we could do it at the 11th hour like this as far as overriding, but it would definitely be something where you could lobby to the SCDOT to say, hey, please make sure that they expand that when you give them that permit for access.
And these comments have gone to SCDOT in addition to that county or the regional administrator as well. So they all have that. Again, are they the right people first, and is that the kind of stuff they consider? But very good questions, yes, sir.
Anybody else? David?
Yeah. First of all, the question about the traffic study that you brought up, would the traffic study be a county-specific thing? And if so, has there been one done on the Anderson County side for the Loves, or the Oconee County side would be where they're building the new facility, right? The new
Yes, sir.
racetrack. So would those be separate studies? Would they be county-specific, or
Well,
would
the
they?
Loves, I mean, that boat sailed, and we got the problem we got. That's the thing. And I don't know what happened way back when. So that boat sailed, so there wouldn't be.
And that's Anderson County,
That's
so.
Anderson County. Now, the reason I went to Anderson County, after you guys did the good work that you did and said, let's do a study, is to tell Anderson County, the county line goes right through the bridge, and the interstate, you got traffic going both ways. So you guys need to talk to your Oconee County partners as we're looking at this jointly. So I did do that. Again, whether they have or not, I don't know, but I did get support from the council when I went there to have that happen. They asked the county administrator to reach out to you guys and get involved in that. As far as the other impact studies, my understanding of the process, and this is part of the frustration, what I can't figure out, I think the chain is first, SCDOT has to approve encroachments or whatever they would do to the speedway. And I don't know
So would
what-
that be the Speedway's responsibility to
That's
develop
my-
that study?
That's my understanding, yes, sir. And this first one, this copy here is probably their first submission at that, but it doesn't, and again, the DOT guy told me it doesn't meet their criteria, so they're gonna wait for something else. So yes, sir, I think that's the first one. And then Coney County Planning could issue building permits or whatever they would do, but apparently they won't. My understanding is this is going back from my discussions with Mr. Chapman. That doesn't happen
Right,
until
planning
DOT
right now
does their
is-
thing.
Planning right now is crippled because we don't have a Chapman anymore.
Right,
So-
exactly. But, I mean, that's just the process on DOT first, Coney County Planning after DOT approves their stuff.
Again, what role does Speedway play in this? As far as,
They want it built.
but they have a responsibility in funding the study or not?
That's my understanding, yes, sir. They're the ones that have to provide
Does
the
anybody
study.
talk to them?
I don't have a contact. I mean, one of their persons was here back in January, February, when we were going through the sign variance stuff. So I assume, and I think it's that person or someone like it that sent this traffic impact study here to DOT. So it has to go to them first. And he or she, that agency, has been doing that.
It seems like to me that Speedway would need to be made aware that the South Carolina DOT is not accepting.
My understanding is they are aware of that.
Okay.
They have been communicated that, yes, sir.
Anybody else?
I'd like to say thank you for all your work. I know you continue to be dedicated to coming to some solution for this, and it's one of the best reasons in the world, and that's to actually save lives. Some people are out there making decisions that are putting their lives in danger because of the traffic. Now, I'm going to just say this. From what I can determine, on the Anderson County side, where Love's is and where trucks are trying to turn left to get in there, if there was a person there when it was busy that was directing traffic, in other words, holding up the traffic so that people could turn left occasionally as they need to, that would be a solution. And I'm wondering why somebody hasn't required that to take place. Because it is endangering lives.
Well, in fact, they put their life in their hand. I think I'll stand in it.
I wouldn't do it, but
Yeah.
if I was trained to do it with a car that had a blue light flashing, I might. I'm just saying that we'll probably end up spending millions of dollars trying to come up with some solution when there could be a paid person that's out there, trained and willing to take this chaos away.
Not possible.
And, I just want to get that out because that to me, I mean, you think about Clemson University football games. The number of people that come to direct traffic from all over the state of South Carolina. And we've got a problem on exit 4 that people are making decisions that putting their lives in danger. And nothing is happening.
I think that's a very good point. I guess, and in addition, the key takeaway though is again, the reason I keep coming to you guys is planning commission, planning department. We just need to make sure we're thinking through all these things before we bring in something else.
Right. But
With
you
a
could-
known challenge, right off the bat.
I think Speedway could legitimately make a case that there's a problem on Anderson County side that they have nothing to do with.
Oh, yeah?
And that probably will happen. So anyway, the problem could have continued to exist until we could get the funding to take care of it. My biggest point is, why spend all that money when we could employ someone to make this chaos go away?
At least, yeah. Well, you could for the loves, potentially, but you're not gonna help that less than 90-degree interchange.
That's a whole
But
different
you
issue.
can- you'd have- yeah,
And that's
hold
an
it.
issue in the future. That's not an issue at the present
Correct.
moment.
And that would be the issue, though, to make sure that we consider before we approve any permits there. Correct.
Anybody else?
An increase in traffic doesn't do anything to help the situation. That's your biggest point.
Correct.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Guys, time again, thank you.
Gary, you had some other comments you wanted to make about that area down there?
With time in mind, I would say no.
Okay, all right. Next item is Planning Commission open items. I want to bring this back up, or I'm sorry, take a look at this I-85 collision map. It's up on the overhead projector, it's in front of you. And this was just about collisions on I-85. That's exactly what this is about. And it shows you the amount of activity that they have down there. Does anybody have any comments?
It looks like a solid red line, but on either side to the left and right, is it equally a solid red line, or what are we not seeing? I mean, I don't know that that's telling me.
I don't
the
think it
information.
shows a pattern.
In other words, we're seeing solid red from start to finish. Is it continued on solid red on either side? I don't know
Be
that
like
this graph
statistical
shows.
scatter.
Well, you look at the yellow circles are driving under the influence, and the other.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what about exit 6? What about exit 9? What about, I mean, is it solid red on Georgia's side as well? And it's just a matter of 85, or is there something actually happening?
I think it would be solid red on Georgia's side too, and also.
So in other words, it may not have anything to do with exit 2, exit 4. It may be just 85.
It's 85. And this is the Oconee part of it, and this is what we had this study done for.
It would be interesting to see outside of the Oconee part if there's
See how,
more or less, or why is it happening right at the state line?
Okay, next item. Planning Commission open items. We still have the impact study that is in abeyance at this particular moment. And it becomes a problem for the county mainly because we're dealing with student housing, but the county is not in the sewer and the water business. And that's usually how they can justify impact fees. We also have the junkyard issue or scrap yard, whatever different terms you want to use. That just kind of, when Adam was going to have a meeting with them, and now that Adam's not with us anymore, we need to still keep that on the radar screen. Let's go down to the next item is 2021 strategic review. And let's take a look at that in the back of your handout material, backup material. We had decided that there were 5 of these 2021 strategies that were a priority item. And I have them numbered here, 1 through 5. And when you turn over the page on page 2 is the 5th one. I think it is safe to say that number 1 has been reviewed by turning that housing white paper into the county council. And I think number 2, the entertainment and recreation, has been reviewed effectively. Number 3, protecting the ag land, Pat is still working on that, so that's an open item. Now, I want to bring up downtown retail. Quite frankly, I'm not sure there's anything the county can do about downtown retail in these municipalities, simply because what we heard from the entertainment and recreational group when these counties or cities came in here and talked to us, they've got very, very active programs, and they are very effective. And we see that certain things are going on in the retail area of these municipalities that the county doesn't have any input to. They actually have zoning. I know there's a controversy about a certain large big box company coming into one municipality, and that has become a very controversial issue. I am wondering if we shouldn't just say there's really not a whole lot we, as a planning commission in the county, can do to address their issues. I'd like to have a comment.
Other than bringing it into a public forum like this, I think we've done all that we can do. I mean, downtown has, at least Seneca has come and said, these are the things we are doing. No different than Ken Sloan coming in and saying, this is what tourism is doing, and these are the entertainment venues and options that are available. I think putting it in a public forum like this is great, but I think that that's the extent that we can, we can check it off our box, in my opinion, from a comprehensive plan that we have updated the county as to what the municipalities are doing with their roads.
Anybody else? Let me add this comment. When they came in here in the tourism, they gave us a wonderful, very interesting discussion about what they were doing, and the core question was, what can we do to help you? And it only came down to pass a hospitality tax. I'm not so sure that that's such a good idea, since I don't know how much money we're gathering from tourism to begin with. So I'm kind of would like to say that I think items 1, 2, and 4 have been reviewed effectively. Pat is still working on number 3. I would like to go to number 5 and talk about roads for a minute, and then maybe come up with another. Road maintenance is obviously a very tender subject around the county. As you know, Gary and I went to Route 24 improvements, and it was substantial. It was a very, very good presentation by the Department of Transportation. Do I have the right route number?
Yes, 24.
Thank you. Very, very good presentation. I have found out there are other roads that are on the list to be repaved. I believe section Road 11, about 6.5 miles of that, and a couple other roads. So with the increase in the fuel tax, it is starting to come into play that we're starting to see some improvements in the roads. How fast they occur, that's anybody's guess. The other item that's on that number 5 is about sidewalks. And we have batted this around a little bit. I would like to see if I can't get some interest in maybe talking about the option, and I want to emphasize the word option, for a developer to put sidewalks in the county right away with a surety bond to be sure that they are constructed up to standards for a certain period of time. Can we kind of have a general discussion about that?
So for anybody who's not been involved, we learned last year that the CAT bus, the whole thing about the CAT bus and people stopping at 14G and points along Highway 123 is that we can't put up CAT bus stopping points because we don't have access for the public to get to those points. In other words, there's no sidewalk in order to get to a place where there's a bench that says CAT bus is going to stop here. Without the sidewalks, it puts a liability then on various things, and there's various legal reasons why it can't be done. So it fell down to sidewalks and municipalities, if that's their issue. But from a county standpoint, the obstacle that it does bring up, especially in areas where CAT bus either does travel or could travel, is that we currently have ordinances in place that says you can't do a sidewalk, that the developer can't do a sidewalk. And so I think bringing up and revisiting that and saying, should we allow the developer the option of doing those?
What's the basis for not allowing a developer to?
Just been within our
Is
ordinance.
it because we don't want the county to have to take it over and fund it? ad
Probably
infinitum?
so, I would say, because we do, if the developer does build the road to a county spec, the county does take those roads over.
I've lived in this county for several years now. I don't see how, I can understand municipalities having sidewalks. They've got a limited space and, I mean, it's just, that's how people get around when you get into cities and towns. But for the county to try to put sidewalks, how is this gonna be done when we have all of the ups and downs and everything? And I mean, I just don't see how it's feasible. If somebody wants to take on the responsibility, then so be it, let them do it, but the county shouldn't be involved in that. And this ordinance, I'm not sure how it got started, but I've not heard a lot of complaints that the county doesn't have sidewalks. I mean, they'll have them inside their subdivisions, they'll have them in the cities, but I don't think we need to start putting sidewalks down Bennett Road.
I don't think that that's what
That's
Mike
subdivisions.
is asking about. I think he's,
Let's say, let me, I'm sorry, let me
no,
interrupt.
it's your,
Let's say that I'm developer ABC, and I come in and I buy 200 acres, and I'm going to have an upscale neighborhood, upscale. And I want to put sidewalks in. I'm not asking to go around all the county roads or anything like that, but I'm the developer, and I'm putting in an upscale neighborhood, and I want to have sidewalks in there as more of an amenity. I may even have a swimming pool in that neighborhood as an amenity. And from a safety standpoint, I have a picture here that we tried to duplicate of a lady walking in a neighborhood, a neighborhood, holding the hand of a 3-year-old and pushing a child along in a carriage. And to me, it's a safety issue. And we're making it optional. We're not requiring it. We're not requiring it. We're making it optional. We're saying you got to have a surety bond for a certain period of time to say that these sidewalks are properly constructed, just like they do with roads. And then after a period of time, the county comes in and assumes responsibility for them. But again, it's optional, and it's a developer does it. It's not, we're not asking to do it all over the county or anything like that. I can't imagine a lot of developers coming along saying, well, I'm going to do it. I think it would be very rare, but I think that we ought to have the option for a person to do that, a developer to do that wants to do it and is willing to spend the money, and he can't have as many lots as he would normally have. So that's
They can't do
mine.
it in subdivisions?
I'm sorry?
They can't put sidewalks inside the subdivision?
not to bring them out to a county road.
No.
So as long as they stop the sidewalk at the right-of-way or something, or the easement?
Tom can probably answer this better
Tom,
than any of us.
go ahead.
I'll try to make this very brief. Anytime you develop a subdivision, that subdivision has to meet the requirements for the county road standards. So the county road standard says no sidewalks, period. So even if you develop a subdivision and create private roads, it doesn't matter. You still have to come to the counties. You still have to do public road standards, and it says no sidewalks. No sidewalks is truly about lawsuits. That's what it's all about, and that's why counties don't do it. You know, that's it.
Well,
So the question becomes is, as more student housing comes in, how do the students get from the parking lot to the bus stop if the bus stop can't have a bus stop?
who else? Anybody else?
Sure makes a lot of sense to make it optional. I would think that we could agree among ourselves to make a motion in order, not necessarily right now, but eventually make a motion with the proper terminology, Mr. Root's help and all that, to send something to the county council, which would amend the ordinance to allow it to be optional. To me, if someone's willing to put sidewalks in and it helps the safety and welfare of the residents, it should be included.
Before we do a lot of discussing, should we not get the roads and bridges, head of roads and bridges in, and maybe the cat bus guy, whoever's over cat bus, or someone that they choose to speak for them, to come into our meeting and give us an overview of what they're doing in maintenance now, and what the thing here said, ask cat bus where they are planning for future expansion, so we get somebody in here from cat bus to give us an idea of what their plans are for the future, but get roads and bridges in here and find out what they are doing and what plans the county has on improving the roads that we have here. I'm more concerned with the roads than I am getting sidewalks in a subdivision or anywhere else. Our roads, the county roads, not the state roads, but our county roads are just pretty much non-existent in some places. And we need to get those people in here and maybe give us an overview of what their plans are, what the county's plans are in repairing those roads with the money that they're asking for this year.
So, and that's true, but roads is not just about there's a pothole in it. Roads is also about what is the impact when the next 900 room subdivision is going to come in for student housing, and the impact that now traffics out onto 3 stoplights and two stop signs. So it's not just the pothole, it's the what does this traffic now mean to everybody else in the county that was using that light. Like the CVS that we're about to come on to with an additional, 1,900 cars per day on that CVS intersection there in Bountyland?
Well, you take the same thing at exit 4. The traffic is going to be increased because the station's going to be built there. And
So
that's,
if we can, that goes back to the sidewalks, if we can get people not individually driving their car to campus, but potentially getting on a bus, I think it's a bigger picture than just, are we talking about potholes or are we talking about sidewalks? I do think that you're right, that we need to get Cat out there to say, where are you looking at expanding? Are you looking at expanding following the traffic of Clemson, or are you looking at expanding to some of the more rural areas? What's your objective for the future? And with roads and bridges about potholes as well.
Let me, I do want to bring the CAT bus rep in and talk about future expansion. That's part of this number 5, no doubt about it. I think that we could pass a motion tonight to start drafting some kind of a change and bring Kyle in here and let him talk to us about it before we start going too far. But I think the first step is we need to see if we want to pass a motion to talk about sidewalks. And definitely we want to have the CAT bus people come in here and talk about future expansion. That's all part of 5. I have written out a motion here for the sidewalk issue. I don't think it's premature to try to pass a motion at this time. we're not talking about sending it up there to the county council without input from Kyle, or obviously before it goes through David Root's office. So I'm going to go ahead and read this motion out. I make a motion that the planning department revise chapter 26.3 to allow a developer the option of constructing sidewalks within the county right-of-way with the requirement that a surety bond be posted, period. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, we've talked a little bit. Any further discussion?
I think we need to take one step before we take that vote. I think we need to take one more step.
What is that?
I think that at the very least, because if it does come down to lawsuits, then we need to figure out how the other municipalities are dealing with it. And is this more of a municipality issue for the next 5 to 7 years, or is this going to be a county issue within the next 5 to 7
Well,
years?
if we're talking student housing, all that's outside of the municipalities, right?
It is, which is
It's all
falls on
down,
us.
it's all down right there near Five Guys and all the, 123 right there.
And
going to
Shiloh
Cliffs.
and the Shiloh
Shiloh
Bridge
Road.
and all that.
That's where it's all coming to.
So it is important, and it's something that I think we definitely need to get there, but I do think we have one step before that, potentially.
That's where it is now, but it will eventually keep
It's
trickling
gonna come
out
back
into the
this way,
county.
yeah.
I mean,
Seneca.
they can only come this way. I mean, there's not anywhere they can go the other way, so they're gonna keep, the student housing is gonna keep scattering out on the Seneca end of the county. I don't know that it's gonna come any further than Seneca, but it's gonna get all in that area, because there's not a whole lot of room, or there's not a whole lot of sewer available and other things on the other side, across the water, so.
Well, and we've talked about workforce housing and affordable workforce housing and things like that. And if it is going to be in some other sections of the county, that's an area where you need access to be able to, the kids walk to school, the bus to be able to pick folks up. I mean, there's a lot of things that the county is going to be needing to look at within the next 20 years. And so I think it's a very important thing that we look at, especially if we're saying you can't do it right now. But I do think that I'd like to see us make a motion that we talk to some people, get them in here, and then figure out how to best structure that motion, rather than trying to structure it before then.
So you want to amend this motion? Or would it make your life easier if we dropped the motion and we started in what? Doing what? Have Kyle come in here, or have David come in here?
Have
or-
Kat come in here. Maybe have David come in here with an explanation of, is the county really talking, is it really about lawsuits as to why the county doesn't want to deal with it? Is it about money? Is it about what if the developer pays
Yeah.
for it and
I
accesses it?
really want to understand what the basis for the rule, for the current the current
Why it was ever put in
ordinance
place?
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did we put that in place?
So I'd
in the
love
first
to see
place?
those things answered.
Well, I think that's easy to answer. It's just been there for a period of time and nobody's
I think Mr.
challenged it.
Root
So
could
why
probably
was it,
help us
was
on
it
that.
structured that way on purpose, or was it just by accident that it?
And how does it align with other counties?
All right, I tell you what, just to move things along, because we've been at this about an hour and a half, I'll go ahead and withdraw this motion at this time.
Could we set up those appointments, though?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do about setting them up and whatever, because I do have a meeting this Thursday with Kyle about something else. Okay? All right. Now, let's keep looking at these. Let's go back to this issue then. I think we can say, number 1 has been reviewed, number 2 has been reviewed. Can we agree that number 4 has been reviewed at this time? Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Number 3 is still open with Pat. Number 5, we're going to have the CAT bus people come in, and we're going to see about getting Kyle in here to talk to us about sidewalks. Now, for the rest of these, I have, on my own, I have developed a strategy list, which you should have also. I have gone ahead and taken the initiative and taken the rest of the strategies that we're supposed to review.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
on number 5, you talked about having 2 people come in and talk. I think what I heard from the panel was, the commission was that maybe we should also hear from the county lawyer on what the basis for these ordinances are.
I can put that in there.
How do they align with the other counties?
All right. That's going to be a crowded group.
Mr. Chairman, as far as clarity, is this that you're referring to is a separate handout?
Yes, it
that
is.
People are looking for.
Yeah. So what I've done is I have gone ahead with the rest of them myself, and I put them in categories. That doesn't mean they're correct, but I put them in categories. We need to have a process to do this, to review this. Otherwise, we just kind of this could drag on for a long period of time. So what I'm going to do is assign everybody homework to go home, and when we come back, we're going to see about taking a number of these and saying that they have been reviewed. See if this category system works for you. It has been tried with other types of projects like this and has been very successful. In any case, we need to have a process if we're going to do this in an expeditious manner. So with that in mind, I want to go back and recap. We're all right with number 1, number 2, number 4. So number 3 is still open, and number 5 is
And
still.
number 5, we have a strategy.
Yeah, we have a strategy.
Of
We're going to
next
have a lot of
steps.
people. They're still open. But the others we're going to take home as homework. We're going to come back at the next meeting, and we're going to see about maybe going through a little bit quicker review of these. Remember, the first 5 we had gleaned out of these 37 strategies. And we had said that these were the ones that we wanted to take a close look at. I want you to know 37 of these strategies are supposed to be reviewed in 2021. 34 are supposed to be reviewed annually. And ongoing there's 64 of those. So we need to be sure that we have a process so that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to?
I do have a question.
I'm sorry?
I do have a question on page 6.
Page 6.
Category 5, items 11, 142, and 143. Those have already been to county council. They've been thoroughly rejected. I don't know why they're still on this list.
Well, they're on this list because we got to review them, and that's just me putting them in there. You're right. But I was doing this in the middle of the night. But in any case, we're going to go through them again at the next meeting and see how far we can get, okay?
I just want to make a comment for clarity. When you're looking at this, of course, when it says Cat 3 or Cat 5 or Cat 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, that is the designation that goes with this.
Yes.
So if you look at Cat 4 and you think, oh, I can't remember what Cat 4 is, go back to your index and go, okay, that's coordination with the county administrator. So that you use the two in conjunction with each other. I didn't think that was necessarily clear in my mind when I first referred to this.
No, I'm glad you said that because it was not clear in mine. So
'Cause
that
there's a lot of
gives me a lot
numbers.
of information. Yep. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Anybody else got a question?
Got one question. Do we need to have a motion to put the prayer and the pledge back on the agenda, or is it just everybody has to agree to it?
Well, I will put it back on the agenda, okay? All right. Does anybody else have anything? I'd like to have a motion that we adjourn.